Call to order the May 23rd meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission this evening in Town Hall. And as always, we start with a roll call. I am Brian Barabee.
Karen Overkill.
Jeff Lawrence.
Lori Stevenson.
Jeff Bryan.
Rebecca Warren.
Excellent. And first up this evening, Jack Holbrook, discussing fire pond maintenance at 114 Sugar Road, 164. Let me just do this one official. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now hold a public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider a request for determination filed by Jack Holbrook for the proposed maintenance of fire ponds on Sugar Road and Long Hill. The meeting taking place this evening, now at 7 o'clock.
Now, I've seen you before, about a year ago I think I was in here. You're familiar, I think.
Yeah, I've been here a while.
You a new face?
I've been around.
You've been around. Her I never met before in my
Yeah, she's
life.
new.
This gentleman here, if you've been on the board a long time, I haven't met you before, Jack Holbrook.
He's brilliant.
So anyhow, we have two fire ponds that have in existence. They have dry hydrants in them. They have, one was installed 20 years ago, one was installed about 10 years ago, and they've gotten silted in. And we're going to try a kind of unique, first time ever way to solve the problem. There's an outfit in Sudbury that has vacuum trucks. So rather than going in, we're going to lower the water level, and they're going to go in and pull out the silt. Now, let's see. I always bring pretty pictures. The one that we're, pass that around. That's 164 Long Hill Road. That's what the pond looks like. It's already got, somebody knows better than I do. And one of the things we want to do with 164 is that when it was last done, there was not much of a berm, so we've got sand infiltrating into the pond. So after we clean the pond, I've talked to Mr. Brown, and he's got something called RAP, which is recycled hot top. And he could build this up so we wouldn't have any more infiltration into the pond. And, let's see here, in case there's any doubt. If you look at the spot 120, that's where the pond is. That's on, going up the hill. There is now a house on there owned by,
This is by Randall's? The one-
yes, just before Rand, yeah, I don't know who owned, the selectman was, the former selectman was there. He's now a member of the planning board, well, okay. We're playing charades here, so.
Where's one of the new houses? That just went in, there's a water garden type thing.
Yes, no, right.
Yeah, that one.
Max Price.
Yes, it worked.
Yeah, okay, that was that. So anyhow, that's what we're hoping to do there. And we'd like to get it done towards the end of June. Because we would like to, we would do it later, but our finances mandate that we do it now. So that's 164. We've notified all the abutters. I don't know if anybody's here. And the material would be drawn out, stays in the truck, and goes down to the sand pit at 110 and 117. Chris Slade runs it. He's using it to recycle, dress the banks and stuff. Once it dries out, it's kind of a sloppy mess for a little while, but it dries out, and he dresses the banks, and it'll support some vegetation. So that's 164. Now the other site is 114, and this is between the, that's a pretty picture of the dry hydrant and pond in the back. That was, that's located between, and I'm gonna come up with a plan here, between the two entrances of Powder Hill. And as always is the case when I research these, I always find that the pond is on two people's property. And in this case, it was the convoluted lots that go up.
Yeah.
Is this, we have a question on this end of the table. Is this the pond location here?
That's the pond.
It is.
No. And so we're gonna do the same thing.
Where are these houses? Are they actually off of?
Oh, they're way, way
Do
up.
they come up? Yeah, these
Yeah,
are long fingers, so they really.
This is, let's
That's
see,
just for the frontage.
that one is, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
This little sliver is Cameron at 31 Powder Hill, which is way up at the top. And the other one is Meehan, I think is
Oh,
the
yeah.
name of it.
Everybody knows that.
Maher. And they're at number 43, so they're 1, 2, 3, let's see. Yeah, they're right, this is them right here.
Right, yeah, that finger.
Comes right up in there, so. And I've had, it's amazing, I've had done other fire ponds, and you go, look them up and you go, huh, I gotta contact 2 people. 'Cause it's- So anyhow, much the same thing, we're gonna go into the vacuum truck and clean as much silt out. Because this one especially, when it gets low, the weeds start coming up, so we wanna clean it down as much as we can. So the one on Lying Hill is gonna be a clean out, and then we'd like to build up so no more sand and silt and anything go in there, so. So that's about it, if you've got
There
questions.
was just one clarification question. I had someone call, they're not available to come in tonight. They actually live across the street from 164 Long Hill, but
Mhm.
you gotta notify them because it's within
Yeah,
100 feet. Just to clarify, there's no work being done on that side of the road.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right, thank you.
You know, in the past, it's probably similar to ones we've always approved in the past.
Mhm.
The vacuum's new to us.
Yeah,
Is this a new, I know it's new to you guys, but a new procedure in general?
the outfit's in Sudbury,
Okay.
and they've been around for a long time. A long time being, I think, back into the 80s at least.
All right, so yeah.
And I just, this was a little gruesome. I came across this when I saw that tragedy in Boston, the Boston, the 2 guys drowned in this.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And I saw the vacuum truck and I go, You know, I said, what if that would work for us? So I said, I didn't want to hire those guys because there were drugs and
Yeah, yeah.
unsavory
Not
people.
really the outfit.
So all of it, you know, I said, Sudbury, oh. So I called them up, I said, do you do a work like that? Oh yeah, we come out and do that.
Interesting.
So, we're good. But minimally, we can clean around the pipe and we can, basically what they do, we draw the pond down as low as we can get it. And they got some guys that go in with shovels and muck it up and they just draw it out and.
So what,
Truck stays, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. What's the difference between the vacuum and a traditional removal? Is it you're still lowering the pond, right? And you're
Yeah.
still mucking it up a little bit
Yeah.
to drag it out?
Yeah, actually, and this is kind of a remains to be seen thought sort of thing. With a backhoe,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna muck it up a little bit more, whereas with a vacuum, we're gonna, you know, and the price was right. You know, that was the other thing too, you know. How much, well, this was before, you know, I get quotes and then I say, oh, by the way, we do prevailing wage, and they go, oh, well, that'll be a little bit more, so, but still, I was quoted at, you get a truck and an operator and 2 laborers for $3,000 a day, which
Do
is,
them all in one day, both in one day.
I don't think so.
I'll do one per.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, and the other interesting thing is these, I should have brought pictures of the vacuum truck, they actually dump. So in other words, they don't have to pump the stuff off, they go up, they open, and it's tight,
Yeah.
because it's similar to a septic pump or something like that. They draw it up,
Through.
get it in the truck, and drive down to 110, dump it, and come back. So, bit of an experiment, but, you know.
Does it filter the water back as it's vacuuming out, muck mud and all that?
We're trying, hopefully, not to have too much water in the pond at the time we.
Yeah, yeah, if it's down low enough, it's all
So,
just.
yeah. So, but whatever comes, whatever gets drawn up on the truck, will go down there, so.
Does the truck stay up on the street? Or
Yes,
is it-
oh, yeah. It's got kind of a boom with a hose and the guys go down. And, not my idea of fun, but they put on their rubber boots and get down and get
They get paid for it. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I just learned the other day that under fair labor, what do I call it? But anyhow, a laborer gets $51 an hour,
Yep.
51 or more, but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Other questions? Is anybody here in the audience? Please. Your thoughts, Rebecca?
Well, I just pulled out part of the regulations under the Wetland Protection Act that allows for utilities and other practical and lawfully located structures and facilities used for the public to provide electric, gas, water, sewage, emergency response. This falls under that.
Yeah.
So I would treat it, excuse me, the same as a utility as well.
Yep.
Keeping in mind, we do have, that being said, I don't have a problem with it. I would suggest that the commission write in, or I can write in for the commission if you seem it necessary, just exactly what we've mentioned. So you keep the truck out,
Oh, yeah.
and
And I suppose I should read the description, or somebody may have.
I transferred it over.
Oh, you did,
so-
okay. So basically, it's a tight truck, so there's gonna be no spillage in the streets or
Right.
anything else like that, so. But yeah, no, we're not, the truck isn't driving into, because if it drove into
Yeah.
you wouldn't wanna see what happened. It's a big
Right.
truck, so.
And then also my other, when I was reading the RDA, I did pick up on the paving. But I think in the long run, that's gonna benefit the pond because like you were just saying, it's not gonna cause excess sedimentation and
Yeah, because I mean, you can,
from the road,
yeah,
which you can tell.
that's
yeah.
all sand there, and the other
Right.
photograph is, it's infiltrated into the pond, so it's,
Right.
you know, it's not good for the pond's health, and it's not. Now, a lot of these ponds were, some of this may be ancient history to some people, but were dug back in the 30s under WPA. I guess that's the Roosevelt administration making work and stuff like that. And so there were about, I don't know, 10 or 12 basic fire ponds, and then others have come along. And contractors have had to add them at the request of the fire chief.
Yeah.
You know, some are put in, Powder Hill put in a pond, and then now there are a lot of cisterns going in. I'd love to see cisterns, because I wouldn't have to come and see you. Not that you're not a nice bunch of people,
Yeah.
but I would, you know, there's,
Yeah.
but the cisterns are probably installed at about $60,000 a pop, so.
Right.
Let the builder do
I was
that.
saying, new developments, yeah. So, other than the truck, was there anything else we discussed to add on?
I mean, to be honest, what I transferred over to the determination was your project description, and I can read that if the commission wants me to, just to see if we need to include anything, and so you can see that it's pretty specific on what you just said and what works to be done, aside from specifying no trucks in the resource area, but that's obvious. Or to keep the trucks on the,
Yeah, 'cause bear in
side of
mind,
the road.
Yeah, it's not-
and I don't know whether going forward, whether you'd have, you know, when and if we use backhoes, they're gonna be into the,
Right,
they're gonna be going around the
they have
pond and
more
stuff like that.
disturbance.
right.
So,
And that's how I see it too. I think it is a learning process because I don't know of the time when this vacuum truck method
never
was
been used before as far as I know.
But I can see why it would be less of a disturbance than a backhoe,
Yeah.
just from conceptually thinking about it. So that's why I'm a little more comfortable that way.
But, you know, bear in mind, I may come back sometime in the future, and I have in the past, and we have a project that's pending on Harvard Road that's already been approved. You
Yep.
approved it last year, and funds got moved around a little bit, so,
Yeah,
but that's
some
gonna
piece
be
of
shuffled into the backhoe
Yeah.
operation, but,
Right.
you know. And I know, by the way, when is the next meeting?
Well, we're gonna decide that tonight. Actually, was everyone okay with the
So was it 6th and
the
27th?
6th and the 20th?
Yeah.
Was it 20th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right, 20.
June 6th and 20th.
All right.
Okay, so June 6th.
Okay, because, remember the other one I had we,
Yes,
okay, I finally get the lady, I just got the letter tonight.
okay.
So, we
So you
can,
want
that
that
one
next
already went to
level?
Worcester. So all I'm just gonna have to do is notify 2 abutters.
Okay.
So I'll come and see you and we'll try and set it up for the 6th.
Okay. Sounds good.
And, you know, we play the shell game. If we have the money, we'll do it. So,
So, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, I think it's probably fine as drafted.
I mean, I can basically just sum up what I thought. If the commission agrees to it, I can adjust it. There's just simply the project description, which is a little bit more lengthy, but it's just explaining exactly what you just said.
yeah, I mean, if, in the, what I assume is a negative determination, you say,
Yep.
you know, sometimes it's been as per blah, blah, but if you want,
Yeah,
fine
so,
with me.
I did suggest a negative determination, but it's a -5, which is that the area described in the request is subject to protection under the act since the work described therein meets the requirements for the following exemption as specified in the act and the regulations. No notice of intent is required. And then I cited 1002(2)B, which is, I can
Yeah,
attach
bylaw
it,
where it
but,
says with emergency, yeah.
so.
I think
is
that
everyone
would
okay
make,
with that? If
sense
not, I
to
can
me.
adjust it.
um,
Okay.
so I would,
Are you gonna be there when they do it, John? Are you gonna be there when they do it?
I would say it'd be interesting
Always
to
have
take a look at
I
it
mean,
when it's done.
I may go out for
Just to
coffee or
see, this
something.
is the
or other,
first
but,
time, you see what it looks like afterwards.
Yes. Yep.
So, I'd like to make a motion that we have a -5 determination for the request for determination as submitted by Jack Holbrook for fire pond maintenance at 114 Sugar Road, 164 Long Hill Road. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
So approved.
Very good.
Thanks.
Tab it on this.
Yeah.
We had one other one that we were gonna do, but the town of Bolton has graciously, it has to do with the pond where the culvert is on Berlin Road that's collapsing.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
And in the specs, it says, oh, by the way, you've got to repair the fire hydrant after you, the dry hydrant, so.
That's exciting.
Because that had kind of, due to the drought last year, I think we had some ooze come in there and compromised it a little bit.
Interesting issues in a few areas, yeah.
Anyhow, so, and you can, if you would please, mail that to the fire chief at 15 Park Hill Road. And, I assume you sent the bill for the,
Yes.
and hopefully he's paid it or will pay it something, so. Other than that. All ready? Probably we'll see you next, June.
So
All right,
we'll see you
sounds
again.
good.
That one, yeah, I'm just gonna file it, and it's 3 years, right? Once,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a matter of, if we, when and if we get the money, we'll do it.
Budget
And
time,
that's-
conditions, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So. All righty, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep. Do you mind if I keep?
Oh, no, it's in there, you've got it anyhow.
Yes, I should. You're right.
You know. 8x10 glossies and.
Yep, there you go.
You guys looking for the selectmen?
No, we came to observe government in action,
Okay.
Great,
Oh,
awesome.
all right, I wasn't sure, it was like.
without Russian interference, I hope.
No,
No,
yeah,
that's
well,
totally
well,
fine. I was
it's
just a
early
little
though.
confused.
It's early in the evening, yeah.
I used Russian dressing on a salad once, does that count?
I would like to slide this
Okay,
time.
okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Yep.
Everybody have a chance to review this? Any issues, questions, fears, corrections? I fear the minutes. Fear having to write.
The minutes look great. Where are we though with Taylor? Is it the first?
Yep,
or
so we were just talking
Yeah.
about that before, trying to figure it out. So from May 8th, they extended it they extended it 18 days from the previous deadline. And so at this point, it was 14 days from May 8th, or from our last meeting. So that being said, we're either today or yesterday on that timeline. So if the commission would like to do enforcement.
Heard anything?
I've heard nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
The last correspondence was between myself and Brent Powers from Natural Heritage about what I had shared with you last time in terms of extending that deadline. I haven't heard from DEP in terms of what sort of actions that they've begun to take or look into, but it's sort of at a standstill now, I would assume.
And my guess would be that Natural Heritage would give them till you'll be in the business today, right?
Yep.
Deadline wise, which has already passed. We haven't heard anything. Think we should probably start issuing fines.
Yes.
I might say to, well, I guess tomorrow would be the first one, and I would say just double check with Natural Heritage. And if they hadn't heard anything, yeah, if you talk to them tomorrow and they haven't heard anything, we've passed the deadline, right?
Yep.
Say if everybody's comfortable with that.
You might send them a note.
Letter
saying
first.
that- Yeah, a letter just stating that as of such and such a date, if we don't hear anything, we will start fining.
Okay.
That way, they don't.
It couldn't hurt. Yeah, it's nice to
We,
exhaust every possible.
I can double check, but I think administratively that has to be done
I think it
anyways.
does. I think that's part of the procedure, is to send them a quick warning.
And I think, just if I remember correctly, during our last conversation, if Natural Heritage is going to look at fines and we would then follow suit,
Yeah.
can that be part of the conversation with Brent, just to see what action we're taking, if any?
Yep,
Do they get fined by both of us?
yes.
You're a yes.
We'll see if they're attention.
You're a yes. But they'll get a letter from us first,
Yeah.
Good.
saying we are gonna start now.
So did we approve the minutes?
We have not.
Okay, okay. Sorry, we went quick
It's
to like two
perfectly
different
fine.
things.
No, we
But-
still got a couple minutes.
Okay, so I will contact Natural Heritage tomorrow, wait to hear back from them, write up the letter at the same time, send it out, unless I have that conversation
Yeah,
and
unless
they
they
answer
say
right
something's
away.
been submitted, we're not
Um,
doing it, yeah.
And then go from there, and start issuing tickets.
There you go. So, that's it. If people have had a chance to go through the minutes from the May 9th, 2017 meeting, I would now like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for the May 9th, 2017 meeting as submitted. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. Any other updates we got about?
The house burned down.
What's that?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep,
it
So I was
did,
just gonna
yeah,
get to that. So it did burn down. I was there the next day and then also on Monday, when they were there removing the material.
Hold on one second. And just for the purposes of people
Sorry.
watching, yeah, there was a control burn. There was a house in town that was condemned and was gonna be torn down. The fire department asked if they could do a control burn.
Yep.
They were granted permission, and now we're just seeing.
And so this is the
Yes,
aftermath
yes.
of that that I'm
Now casually
explaining.
talking about somebody's
Sorry.
house burning down, yeah.
Yeah, we don't normally condone
Yeah,
that.
house burned down, great.
Oh, great.
But yeah, so everything did go well. I went out today as well, so now they have all the erosion control up, they have the erosion control stockpiled. The site looks as good as it can for a construction site. They did line, one of the drainage areas just for, like we had requested for the purpose of if anything does flow through. By the time the water gets to that outflow that goes under the road, it's relatively clean, which I was honestly a little surprised to see, but glad to see it. And then along with that, the well is in and in place. And there were some questions about, from one of the individuals out there, just double checking where the limit of work was, if it was at the wattles or beyond it, and I said, no, it's at the wattles, so obviously please stay inside of that, because they just weren't sure about some of the flagging, but the erosion control was in the correct place, so I was able to just say, stay on this side. Also, the only issue with the site was there wasn't a construction entrance apron, but I called Peter and they're deploying those materials shortly, so.
Did the tree survive?
Yes,
So I
yes it
was
did,
driving
because
by
that's,
the other
I'm
day.
out there with my map going, okay, what?
Tree was
tree is
pretty
it
close to
supposed
the
be?
house. if I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was actually, I think it was slightly, I'm trying to think of the way the lean was, but I think it was actually leaning slightly over the house as well, so it survived though, it's doing well.
The one we did in the future.
Yeah. And then also I went out to Sugar Road today as they're just doing the riprap that was required on the outflow of the culvert that goes under Sugar Road near Craftsman Village. The erosion control's up, it's pretty straightforward, but everything's up, inspected, and in place and correctly installed. And then I was out on Fifeshire with Beaver Solutions to see if we can remediate the washed out gully that we have with either another beaver, tube or culvert, however you might want to call it. And it seems that it's really only an issue during the high water periods we're getting in early spring. He's gonna write something up for us so I can distribute it to you to see if that's something we want to do. It's something that's supposed to work with the beaver activity. So if we install a second pipe, it will allow more water to flow through, but I think we have to give a call to our engineers, which I'll be doing this week as well. But luckily it's only that one side that's sort of deteriorating, so I think it'll be remotely an easy solution, maybe a little costly, but yes, that's really it for segment, so.
Time to get 7:30. Oh, we're almost. Did you have info on the town comment? I don't know if there's a-
Aside from, they have gotten the information that we had filed last time about the amendment. That's been brought to be recorded. I'm still waiting for the booking page of that. And then also the erosion control, we allowed them to take down a portion of it because it's already stabilized. Yeah.
All right. Should do 80 Meadow Road. Pretty close. Do we have a lovely opening for that one?
Yes.
Right, Tony. All right. Okay, yeah, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now hold a public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider a request for determination filed by Bill White of 80 Meadow Road for the proposed stone wall. Public meeting held this evening here in Town Hall. Yeah, please, if you guys want to come up there.
My wife, Mary Jo.
Hi, how are you?
Haven't seen you guys again. So then, no one else are back. A little sooner this year than usual.
Where are they?
Any questions before?
I think,
Yeah, if you give a quick rundown, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's pictures of it here too, but
Yep, I gave them copies of it.
the wall in question is on the left-hand side of my driveway. There's an existing wall on the right side of my driveway and one on the left side of the driveway. And the one on the left-hand side of the driveway is The one on the right-hand side is fairly complete. The one on the left-hand side, I'm adding stones there to take it up, hopefully, to the top of the driveway. Now, if you look at the left-hand side of the driveway, there are stones there now. They are large stones. They are not what they call farming walls. They are glacial stones that were driven down there 200 years ago, whatever. So what I'm doing is building on top of those stones, adding several layers on top of them. So it'll probably be about 24 inches high, all the way up. So the stones will be right off the edge of the driveway, so there's no interference with anything to the left of that. And certainly they won't interfere with the driveway itself. So it will be 150 feet roughly from the driveway, from the road, all the way to the top when it's finished. Okay, and there will be no, how do I put this? There will be no interference with the stones there now. I will just add to the top of them. Okay. The stone wall itself is what they call a dry wall, as opposed to a wet wall, where you use cement or something like that. So you've seen them
Just
around
fit
in
together,
million
yeah.
places, wherever. So that's the end product. I've done some of it myself, so I'm about a quarter of the way up at this point in time. I just got too tired. I couldn't do it anymore. And people doing it are local. The Patterson family, who owns the, what's the number of that? Bolton Bean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the father owns a facility in Stowe for fixing cars, and he has two sons, three sons, but two of them do stone walls. Yeah, they are mountain men.
Yeah.
When they first came for the first time, they were working on another wall for me. They came with no tools. And they are really good. If you just stone wall it in, they are
No, it's good to know, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so they will do the work. Say I've started it, they will finish up. They will start probably the first part of June. We anticipate finishing end of June, first part of July. So if all goes well, it'll be done early July kind of a thing. Of interest is the fact that around our house, from the front, the right-hand side, left-hand side, and the back, there are a whole bunch of stone walls. And we will get the stones from those walls, existing walls. You will not see people trucking stones in and whatever. And more importantly, you won't see people trucking stones out of there. It's called, what's the term they use it for? I don't know. But it's been known that in this part of the state, a lot of stone walls have been disassembled, I guess is the best word. And there is a severe fine for doing it. So I rest assured we're not going to take any stones off those walls. We'll take some off the walls, but we'll use them in the existing wall.
Right.
So rest assured that won't be a problem. That's the sum and substance of it, and Rebecca has seen it, and you've seen pictures. Should you have any questions of that, that's fine.
I'm assuming the wetland, both sides of the driveway?
No, so
Okay.
the wetland is just on the left side of the driveway. It
Yeah.
is outside of 25 feet. In the area that is proposed, this is a light post, where the stone wall will go is between the driveway and the light post, which is lightly landscaped and maintained
Yeah,
currently.
it's brush. See, this is the
Yeah.
driveway, this is some green plants there, whatever.
And there's no grading, no
No.
extra fill, anything like that, aside from the stones just being placed one on top of the other. And he has another stone wall in the front of the property that's outside of our jurisdiction that was done by the Patterson family as
Yes.
well.
Right.
And it's very invasive in terms of structure and how it's created. Also, I included in your package what it states under the Wetland Protection Act is that the following minor activities, provided they comply, meaning they're not constituting a barrier to wildlife movement, are otherwise not subject to further regulation under the Wetland Protection Act or Mass General Law 131, Section 40. So meaning, that's a good thing. So meaning that the fencing and stone walls, stacks of cordwood, again, not constituting barrier to wildlife movement, are permitted. And again, it is outside the 25-foot, so it doesn't affect the Bolton bylaw that's specific to fill or altering that specific area as well.
There will be no heavy trucking involved or noise in the area. They will probably use a wheelbarrow to take some stones from the ones and wheel it over and drop them on top of these.
And then start filling it.
Yeah, so there'll be no neighborhood noise or any trucks or any heavy equipment
Driving it.
which is fine. So I think it's basically pretty straightforward. I don't see any issues coming up that will change it at all. It'll be what it is and what it's going to be.
Yeah, it seems.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Sure.
You've been on site, Rebecca, we haven't seen this one. The stones that are being relocated, are they from a wall on the property?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and
Absolutely.
are they currently in a resource area, are they outside of the
No,
resource area?
so well, we can specify that. There's not a wall that's in that wetland area to the left of the driveway. It's more towards the back upland portion of the property and then towards, well, there's the one at the front, but I'm guessing you want that one to stay. You just
I could
built
take that
that.
one apart.
But there is one, and correct me if I'm wrong, further into the wetland area that may be a property line of some sort, maybe, I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not something that we're going to get into.
Yeah, and
but,
that's,
yeah.
I don't foresee that, yeah.
There are walls in the neighbor in back of this. So it may be, maybe that's what you're talking about, but there's some other walls further up the hill
Yes.
from our
Yep.
house. And they won't be involved in that.
So the whole road was a pasture at one point, and the different pastures were delineated by walls, and there's still some barbed wire around some of them, so.
Yeah, those walls were what they call farmers' walls. You know, they were farmers, as my wife said, you know, constructed them to hold the cattle or whatever sheep in, kind of thing, which is really nice.
Yeah.
It's very unusual. And if you go out to towns like Martha's Vineyard and Chilmark, you see walls which go on hundreds of miles. It seems that way.
Yeah, forever through a wall.
And when he came up here 36, 8 years ago, whatever it is, I said to myself, someday I'm going to rebuild those walls because they all tumbled down. Unfortunately, I found some guys to help me.
Lucky the time.
Cut wood, but-
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is the last one. Oh, I hope it's,
Yeah.
hope so. Yeah, I've had my fingers, you know, caught in some of those stones. It's not fun. But it's going to be good when it's finished.
Does anybody in the audience have questions about this? So you don't have any additional concerns?
I don't, like I said, I was on the property, I talked to Phil about it, and in terms of my concern was that, and I asked it right away in terms of potential grading, because I know whether you're laying brick or stone, sometimes you use grading, but then basically him saying no and then pointing out the other wall that's already been done, clearly there's not going to be any grading or fill going into that area.
It's interesting that people, I talked to another firm to do it in case I had a backup, whatever. And the first thing they said to me, Bolton is really hard to work with for conservation commission. But they said it in a nice way in terms of, you know, the protecting, which was fine. And so I was very conscious of that. In fact, one of the guys told me they worked in What town do they work in? Sherwood, not Sherwood, where your friends live?
Sherburne.
Sherburne. He said Sherburne was so concerned about what was happening, exporting and stuff off the property, they wouldn't let them complete the project. So it's a very, the fine is very healthy, $500 fine, and you can't work in that town again. Kind of thing. So it's no easy thing. Yeah, I thought it was a no-brainer, but it's not.
Yeah.
It really is. So, any questions you have, you want to come over and look at it, whatever you'd like to do is fine.
I mean, I'm personally comfortable with everything too that we've heard from Rebecca. I don't know how others feel, but that said, it would probably be a -3. Let's see, minimum, what would be your?
So,
Go ahead.
that was my question to you, actually. Because, so -3 is the work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of notice of intent. And then -5, the area described in the request is subject to protection under the act since work described therein meets the requirements for the following exemption as specified in the act, the regulations, no notice of intent is required. So that would be again 1002, but 2B1 instead of 2B2. So it's up to the commission what works better. So one is specifying the exemption, the other is just simply okaying the work in the buffer area. I know, I'm throwing a loophole at you. Not a loophole, something else.
Unless people have strong thoughts, I would almost think it's a -5.
Yeah, I
in this
agree. It's
case.
outside the 25, right?
Yes.
It is, and it's not, all right. In that case, I'd like to make a motion that we, I'd like to make a motion that we have a finding, a -5 finding on the requested for determination for 80 Meadow Road. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So approved.
Right, so you're all set, I will follow you.
If anything changes at all, you know, the people we have working on site, which I don't anticipate, or anything we run into which is odd, we'll certainly let you know.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
But it
Yeah.
appears at this point, it's just gonna go
It
right.
seems
Yeah.
pretty cut and dry, yeah. And good luck with it, it's a nice project, it
Yeah.
really is, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I love those old walls.
I just love it.
Yeah.
Because I like doing a puzzle, you know.
Right.
Small one, big one, whatever, it's great.
You get more rocks if you need them.
Kind of
I think there's
I
any-
know you can get more rocks if you need them.
When you
think
talk
there's
about
any
importing
problem.
rocks, I said, God, I hope nobody
Yeah.
imports rocks, ever, like, why, yeah.
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 Sport rocks.
Oh,
I don't know.
can't go
it's-
more than a half a foot, yeah.
Thank you, I'm glad we had a chance to
Yeah.
stop by.
Yeah,
and,
thank you so much.
If you wanna
Yeah.
come over, drive by, we're not that far away, take a look
We'll
at
take a look when it's done.
it. Okay.
Let's
I
see.
just want to thank you guys for letting us observe. We have to
Yeah,
get
no
back.
problem.
Thank you.
We'll see.
Thank you.
Don't you take my pen?
Yeah.
Oh, who had the fun of seconding that one? Did you second? You got a 40% chance if you just didn't check.
I know.
Turn around there.
I did that out one and I guessed right. Do we-
We need to vote on the OOC. Oh, is this the,
This is
this is
the
the RDA
determination.
for the, yeah.
So we closed the hearing last.
We did, yep. Let's see if this sucker can get around. Just doing a motion that we approve the OOC as submitted, or
Yep.
right?
Yes. Yep, so it's all what we had talked about during the site visit, and then just the boilerplate ones as well, that are automatic.
Yeah, there we go. All right. In that case, I would like to make a motion that we approve the order of conditions for 40/42 Hudson Road as has been submitted this evening. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's just the- so we figured it
I
out
don't
last
blame you,
time.
I would do that too.
Drama.
Keep you guessing.
Jeff B.
Yes. We'll let that one get around, and then we can do 82. Right on time.
You don't need that for anything, right?
What?
No.
Maybe. No.
Maybe?
I'd wait till
No.
that interest, no. Yeah. So it'll be
Ink
two.
is dry.
One more signature to go, don't get jumpy yet.
If you want to stop by tomorrow morning to pick up a copy so you can bring it to the registry, I'll be in the office from about 7:30 till noon, so whatever.
Upstairs.
Yep.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you very
Good
much.
luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, fun.
Oh, it's fun.
We do. So, just quickly, we did receive the DEP confirmation for 82. Their only comments were that they noted that obviously this sketch is done on top of a previous plan, so they just simply stated that it may be beneficial for the commission to confirm the limit of work and erosion controls, which we did at the last meeting. It seems to fall under the same that's depicted on the plan. That being said, the order of conditions reflect that in answering that question. And also, again, general boilerplate orders, and I just want to check and make sure it was. Oh, so the only two that were not really boilerplate and typical were that the roof runoff shall be captured and redirected away from the resource area, which we talked about at the last meeting.
Sorry.
And then that the stockpiled material shall be placed along the driveway and shall not enter the resource areas. And then clarifying that there shall be no grading associated with this project. Yeah, and actually that was the same for the other in terms of stockpiling. It was noted specifically in reference to the drawn area on the plan. That's as far out of the resource area and buffer areas that you can get
Yeah,
on that property.
Yeah. All right, so that's it. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the orders of conditions for 82 Teal Road as drafted and presented this evening. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Traffic.
Oh, wait, there's. Alright, so our last order of business is the funding for equipment for trail maintenance materials. Also, either before or after, we can address something that Brian and I were talking about in terms of, so that we don't have to bring up funding necessarily at every single meeting, as if it's in the budget, technically we're allocated for those funds. But it's up to the commission in terms of whether it's okay for just Brian to okay it as he's the chair, or if you would like it to be brought to the commission every time, or if we want to have a benchmark price of, or amount that at that point when it's over, I don't know, whatever that benchmark amount is, then it would be brought before the entire board. And what that number would be, if you have any ideas.
What is the average cost that you go out, you know, like $500, you go out to buy wood, is that the normal?
It depends, I mean, there's for something like lane maintenance, as we've seen by Jim Hendrickson?
Yes.
Henderson?
Henderson
Excuse me, Henderson Sprecher, yeah. For something like that, where we've discussed sort of an annual plan, so at that point, we would be discussing it as a commission. But something like what we did this past year in terms of a one land maintenance chunk at a time versus an entire plan. That was, I believe, 3,000, and I can double check. But I mean, for the average, I mean, tonight we're just gonna go over some equipment costs, and Jeff can sort of dive into that a little bit more in terms of restocking the container. But how that plays out is it's really $500 for hard materials, and then you have some maintenance of items that you have, so oil and different things for the chainsaws or weed trimmers, weed whackers, or however you want to term it. And that we can say not to exceed 1,000 in total with those two combined, or something along those lines. But typically, we're not spending over $1,000.
And it does vary year to year.
Right, and
You know,
that's something in mind as well.
Last year, you know, Lowe's had donated a fair amount of material for free, and that really put us over the top in terms of
That's nice.
what we have in inventory. So a year like this, you know, we don't necessarily need any composite decking, but we're out of nails to put markers up, you know, and that's something that doesn't happen every year. Because there's a 50-pound bucket in there that we've just been drawing from for years, and all of a sudden, it's gone. We're out of nails. So that would be a line that's not in every year, but just happens to be this year.
General maintenance.
Exactly.
Can you go to Lowe's and ask them for more nails?
Yeah, I do.
That may work,
Yeah,
that may work, but
it
it's
may,
that's
yeah,
what
we
it doesn't,
need
that's
that.
you know, back up.
All right.
And Rebecca does a really good job managing the budget. We're saying a lot of like our, so far, yeah. A lot of our regular expenses, we know they're coming, you know, they're budgeted for, we just kind of, they come in, they go out, we pay them. And this was more when those once in a while purchases come up. It's not a normal, I shouldn't say normal, but not a frequent purchase for something new or something different. You know, normally Rebecca will just reach out to me to say, hey, this is, you know, it's expensive, you know, is this fine? Which I'm fine approving. Like, I don't think there's anything that's really been questionable. Like, I don't know about that. You know, it's all usually fairly intuitive.
That is a nice car you're driving now.
Yeah, I like that, right? That truck, yeah, we need a truck for the town. But then, you know, it did make me think, like, I'm comfortable doing it, but and it's too bad the scouts weren't here, you know, in the auspices of open government, you know, I don't want to be the end-all, be-all, that, you know, I was thinking maybe, and it's stupid for every expense, we don't want to do it as a group, but to just put in, like I said, like a benchmark, whether it's $1,000 or $5,000 or a certain amount, saying, you know, when it's an individual expense over a certain amount that's not like a regular maintenance expense, then we just look for board approval before proceeding. And just writing that up as some sort of policy or procedure.
Yep.
Is
I think that makes a lot of sense, and then year to year, if anyone ever questions your budget, right?
Yeah,
You know, these are the things that the budget supports in a more specific way.
and, you know, it'll help commission members to know what's going on too. You know, if there's a special purchase, you know, it's good for us all to know
Yeah.
what and why. We have a theory on an amount. I'm trying to, you know, either 1,000 or 5,000.
Yeah,
you
I
just-
will just specify too, is things like what we just had come up with Camp Virginia, where it's very specific and something that we are technically allowed to expend funds on, but may not be in automatically assumed use. Something like that would come before the commission, no question, and that wouldn't be something that it's a short conversation of, okay, this is all the facts, do you approve it or not? That's something I think the commission needs to be aware of, but then also the fact that it needs to be recorded for the community as well.
General maintenance of footbridges and
Yeah, that's,
nails and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Let's vote on that, yeah.
Make sure you count the nails before you use.
We
Yeah.
every single one,
Make sure you-
every
the
single.
audit with the nails.
So yeah, if we can try to put together some sort of policy
okay.
that we can enact, and maybe, I don't know what the amount is, though, still the amount.
Yeah, and that's something we can revisit at the next meeting if we want time to think over it.
Well, no, like $2,000 would get you lumber and stuff without,
Yeah,
but.
And it's all documented, it's not saying it's just,
Yeah.
okay,
Right,
I'm
right,
gonna
yeah,
do
it's
that.
a-
No, I know
No, I
that,
keep
but
all the
it's normally,
receipts.
you know, if you're gonna go do something, you probably wouldn't be spending anything more than that.
right,
Right.
right.
Wouldn't surprise me if it was gonna be something like $2,000, we'd know about it anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It will come up.
Yeah.
That new lawn tractor of yours.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I need one of those.
Something like that.
So, that said, do you want to talk more about the equipment for?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, why don't we-
So this is a spreadsheet that has typical materials on it, right? And I guess when we're talking about
Relative to the container.
relative to the container, relative to land maintenance activities or the construction of permanent or semi-permanent structures on conservation land. And most of that, up until this year when we built our very first kiosk, is bridges and, you know, elevated planking for, you know, duck holes or duckboard bridges. Last year, we spent, that number that Lori had mentioned, we spent about $2,000 on material. You know, last year was also the first year where the equipment spend was through Lowe's instead of Coopman's. And to be perfectly honest with you, Lowe's was significantly less expensive per piece than Coopman's was. So, in the money that we spent, we were able to buy a lot more stuff, right? And then on top of that, Lowe's donated a truckload of material that is still in that container that we're still working through. So, for this year specifically, the only lumber item that we're looking for would be the 16-foot stringers, which, you know, 2 per bridge gets us a span of 16 feet. It also gives us a little bit more flexibility. You know, if we need a 14-footer, we can cut it down, or we can just make it 16 and be clear of the resource area on both sides. That's it from a lumber standpoint. So that's, you know, $280 in lumber. We're all out of nails, so page 3, you know, we're buying them in 5-pound bricks or 30 or 40-pound buckets, depending on what's available. You know, so somewhere $75 for nails, and then the composite deck board screws is really what we're looking at for lumber this year. And as Rebecca had mentioned, you know, there's 2 string trimmers in there, both steel. You know, one has a blade on it that needs to be replaced. Both string trimmers have been sitting, they probably need to be tuned up, type of thing. So we would probably have that done this year as well. It wasn't done last year.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And they got a use. What line does this normally come out of? Is this maintenance, land maintenance, or is it?
This would be equipment.
Okay.
Land maintenance is for like Henderson
Yep.
Striker, where we
Yep.
hire out an individual specific to land maintenance. It may fall under land maintenance in the event that we need a mower or
Yeah.
a larger piece of equipment to maintain a larger property. But as far as materials go that are the general fix-it materials, that will be equipment.
All right. And we have budget money remaining?
Yes. I can double check the exact amount, but the only funding for land maintenance has been the Henderson striker and then the Terry boots and hanging that whole mix up off,
Yes,
clarifying.
all right. Second mower.
Yep, and then, in the equipment, I can double check, but I think there's only been like $75 spent out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
For like
foresee
batteries.
any other expense, major expense coming against that line?
From
between
now
and
until June, no.
All right.
June's only a week away.
Yeah, June 30th.
Well, it's the
June
end of
30th,
June.
the end of
It's the
June.
end of June.
The end of June, yes, the end of the town fiscal year.
I do know.
That's
Okay.
where we're at. Yeah, I mean, I guess the only other maybe possible component would be, you know, we did install the very first dog bag dispenser at Power Springs.
Right, so that's gonna be, the bags are gonna be a
And
cost.
probably want to inventory a few of those bags, and if it's a sort of successful pilot program, and there's other properties we'd like to have
Yeah.
that
Lost it.
installed, Jeff and I can say it's not as difficult as you might think
It's terribly difficult.
to put these.
I know.
Terribly difficult, it took a lot of work to put that
This I believe.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, and now would be the time to
So if there are
stockpile some of that stuff, yeah. for
Absolutely,
the
and they
June
hold
30th.
400 bags, so it'll be interesting to see what the throughput is, but you probably want to have some of those on hand, and if there are other properties that we want to offer that as a resource.
Have you been down there to see if the bags are
I
there? Getting
have.
off topic. but-
Yeah, I have, it's very difficult to judge how many are left on the road.
Yeah.
And then, just the last thing I would like to say, sort of as a public service announcement in terms of conservation properties, there is no fishing, hunting, trapping, etc., use of firearms, paintballs, or motorized vehicles, except for emergency vehicles, on conservation properties. We've had a few cases where people have been fishing during the day, along with some night fishing, and on any conservation property, it is not allowed. There is fishing by private access if you get permission from homeowners on your own time. For West Pond, there's no public access currently, and for Little Pond, you can access through Persons Park, or once the beach opens up, maybe you can access it through there. But currently on conservation property, there is no fishing or hunting, etc.
Mhm.
So, when it comes to these, were we looking for approval or just more informational? I mean, it seems like
Yeah,
we're,
I guess-
yep.
And
Yeah.
if it does
seems
need
like
an
we're-
approval, then yes.
Yeah.
But if it's just under what we're gonna call the general maintenance category, just to
Yeah.
make everyone aware of it. And that's something in the future, I can just simply send an email to say, you know, this is what we're expending funds on, if it's below that benchmark cost.
Yeah, and that just makes, I mean, you're the one who's gonna have an eye on the budget, you're gonna know what we have left.
Right,
and-
right, right.
And you're gonna declare it out by the end of June too, you know, in a case like this, so. It seems like it's money well spent at this point. Everything I've seen the trail committee do, once again,
Everything
you guys do fantastic work, like really, in the
We're getting a
last,
lot done.
the last few years. It's been incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other topics?
We had the open space forum last night that we had not too many people show up to, but the draft is still online on the conservation page website under open space and recreation plan. So you can access that, and you can either email me at concom@townofbolton.com with your comments or concerns or things you would like to see included, along with coming into the office here in Town Hall upstairs. So we're still open to those comments. It will be at the next Conservation Commission, on the next Conservation Commission agenda, so we can have a formal review and hopefully acceptance of that. And just basically signing a letter of review saying that the commission had looked on it, at it, as a few of the other departments in town hall are doing as well. That's
Oh,
really
that's
it.
really great, that that's moving, yeah.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing. Are we going to actually review the document at the meeting?
Nope, so I have distributed it to you all a week ago. I can send you the most updated version, which is on the website now, as of yesterday, along with survey results. But it's just simply send me your comments, just like the public as well, so that I can include it and answer any questions that anyone may have. And then at the meeting, if there are individuals who would like to come in and express their comments, that's an opportunity for them to do so. But it's more of just, we read it, we either accept it or we don't, or a few more concerns, and here's the review letter.
Exciting. That's good. Spring planting tips, anyone? I look at Lori. We got enough planting going on. All right.
The ground's warm enough.
Yeah.
Have the mulch
weather.
spread.
Yes. Time for it. All right, that's it. I would like to make a motion that we officially close the May 23rd meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So closed. Good night, Bolton Access TV.